Okay, we are live.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to everyone and anyone in our audience. If you are
I feel
watching
like
us
there needs
live,
to be a cheer.
if you are watching, could you please give us a thumbs up to let us know that you're here, that we actually are streaming live.
This would be the wrong time to say that I closed Facebook so I can't hear or see
Yeah.
thumbs ups.
I do have my husband in the other room watching, so and I can see we have a viewer now. So let's get started. So with us today we have Sian Ceinwen, a steamy contemporary romance author who accidentally wrote a reverse harem by writing smutfics about her characters. Wicked Freedom, the final book in the Something Wicked reverse harem trilogy. No? Changing
I wrote too much. I wrote too much smut, and it's now a 4-book trilogy. Wicked Scrooge just came out, and Wicked Freedom is coming out. It's the pre-order set for the 1st of May 2023 because I've learned my lesson, but I'm aiming for August.
Okay.
Sorry about that, I forgot.
That's all right. We also have Kenna Shaw Reed, happily married to the love of her life and raising 3 teens. Kenna was flawed by the words "you have MS." Suddenly, life felt shorter, and all the characters that had lived in her head demanded to be written. Now the author of over 30 books, she loves to create the perfect man or men, fall in love, break his or their heart, and then create a happily ever after. Hi, Kenna.
Isn't that what we do?
Yes.
Like, come on, have you ever created a male character that you haven't actually wanted to take home and do naughty things to?
Well, certainly with the main sort of male characters. I mean, I've created some pretty nasty villains I wouldn't want to take home.
Hand them over.
Hey, in dark romance, that's the hero.
Yeah. The anti-hero. Oh. So, I'm Lelia Starla, author of Steamy Romance and Thrilling Fantasies, here to host this panel. We might have another author pop in later if her internet allows. Apparently, she's got a bit of a storm happening where she is in the US, so we shall see. But for now, let's get underway. So today we are talking about reverse harem, also commonly referred to as why choose romance. For those of you who are watching in our live audience, please stay tuned because we will be giving away a book bundle at the end of this broadcast. This prize includes a paperback copy of my new release, Winter's Thrall. Yep, there we go.
Ooh.
Gorgeous cover.
Yes, we've got the very talented local artist from Adelaide, Jana Hoffman, to thank for that artwork.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's not technically reverse harem. It is a menage a trois, however. So it's sort of like MMF or MFM, like whichever way round they happen to be doing it at the time. But yeah.
I get what you mean. Yeah. So it might be a good time to clarify where the M's and the F's go because some people get confused. The M's before the F, swords cross. Any M's after the F, swords don't cross. So that's very helpful if you get 9 people in a harem. It's like M, 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 F, M, M, M.
Yeah, so swords definitely cross in this menage. But yes, they also share the female character too.
Perfect. I love it. I love that for them.
And our guests also donating some books to this prize pool. So would you like to plug your books?
Oh. Kenny, you start with yours because mine's behind me and I haven't got it. I didn't think.
So I'm going to be putting Seducing the Band for free for 24 hours. I just have been struggling with Amazon. It kicked me out, so I couldn't actually put it for free, but I'll be putting it for free as soon as Amazon let me to, so whether or not it's tomorrow or the next day or anything. So it's the whole book that's just for free. And that's a quick read. Oh, imagine you were going to be in lockdown with anyone you wanted to be. For me, the fantasy is in a pub with a pool table with a rock band.
I'm here for this scenario. Can I be her?
So the whole scenario is this Sydney, and yes, I'm Australian. Sydney from Sydney has run away. She ends up on the far south coast of New South Wales in Australia at a music festival, and ends up having a one-night stand with the lead singer. One night leads to 3 nights. Country goes into lockdown. They go into a pub with the band. The band is ultra competitive, and of course, she's the only female. So they have a competition because they're competitive alpha assholes, and which is my favorite. You'd have to ask me because it keeps changing every day.
Fantastic.
But it's a series of 4.
No. You did a 4-book trilogy too.
It's actually closer to 6 because there's Dirty Blonde, which is a free prequel through Book Funnel, and then there's the 4 books, and then there's another one that went into the Rockstar anthology from last year.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
I'm in the middle of rewriting some of them into a maybe just 1 or 2 box set kind of thing.
Yeah. Box sets are great.
Sean. Yeah.
Okay, Sean.
Oh, I got it. There, Wicked Opportunity is the book I'm giving away. It won't be the foiled cover. I do have to order more of these. I gave these, this is one of the ones I gave away on TikTok because they had a typo on the spine, and you'll see, I hate when it's like the camera's reversed. There you go, something wicked.
Oh.
It's not going to focus. Yeah. And so I was like, I want to make something good of this. And so I gave away all 50 on TikTok to people who entered. I was like, I'm trying to get to 5,000 followers, so I'll give away 50 books. Because I didn't feel right. So many people were like, I want to buy one. Like, I really want one. But I didn't feel right selling them because it's on the spine. If there was a typo in the blurb, I would have been fine with that. But think about like when you put it up on a shelf.
Yeah.
That would bother me. So I was like, I can't sell it. I thought initially I was like, I'll just put it up and I'll put a big disclaimer saying there is a typo on the spine, but I was like, I can't do it. So, but yes, but this is the book that it's actually got a different color. There's white on the one that I'll be giving away on Amazon. That started, as I said, from smutfics that I wrote because I really wanted to see 2 of my non-canon characters have sex. Sebastian and Heather, I just really wanted to see it. So I wrote it because that's the joy of being an author. And then the next minute I was 40,000 words deep in an alternate universe and just where she got all the bands. And that became the Something Wicked series. It became the Something Wicked series that, I just released. The 3rd book was supposed to be a trilogy, but I got to about 80,000 words and I was like, I can't tie this up in the next, it was because mostly with what's going to happen in the final book, I would have to go like, okay, I've got like 2 chapters to tie up this whole thing. I'm just going to have to be like, now we're 6 months in the future and this is how it all is going to end. So this way I get lots more smut that I can write, and I can tie it up. Like I can just start that book 6 months in the future, and it's a lot more reasonable.
Fair enough. That's all right. I've gone and created an 8-book trilogy. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop me. I could just, when my cover designer was coming up with covers for book 3, he gave me 7 options. So, I mean, and I didn't use one of them. I didn't use any of those for the one that, for Wicked Screwed. I used a different option. So, by my count, I can just go right on up to 8, 9, 10 book trilogy. I'm here with you. I'm kidding.
We call it a saga, don't we?
Yeah, I think I'm running out of ways. I'm running out of ways for these characters to do it. I'm just going to be honest. I haven't repeated a scene in. I hit 200. It's an odd. It's an odd milestone. I hit 200,000 words of smut in the series with book 3. A very odd milestone to hit, but a milestone nonetheless. Fun times.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I'm just going to go cough now.
So, reverse harem is a relatively new subgenre of popular romance fiction, with its roots in Japanese anime and manga. And it is taking ebook stores by storm. To clarify, these are stories where one female main character has multiple love interests, typically, but not exclusively, all men. And the best part? She gets to keep them all. I have read a few interesting theories on its growing popularity. Before I share those, I'd love to hear why you think readers are going crazy for these polyamorous stories. What draws you to reverse harem?
For me, and I love reading them, I really do, it's that she is the center of the universe. And I think with so many, with life and reality, women are not the center of anybody's universe. So in reading a reverse harem, I love the fact that she is the point of their affection. That usually, well, maybe it's just the books I read, the guys are alpha assholes to everybody else, but when it comes to this one woman, there's something about her that they want to protect, they want to cherish, they will, you know, lay down their lives for this one woman. And I think that that's, like, I write choose your own romance as well, where you've got different pathways to love, but I also love reverse harem. I love reading it, and I think sometimes the characters demand that she wants it all.
Yeah, I completely agree. What Kenna said, like, there was a discussion on TikTok the other week about erotica, like people, they were saying that it's erotica disguised as romance. And I was like, oh, seems like this man came across reverse harem and is a little bit salty about it. But for me, I was like, what's more romantic than 4 or 5 guys whose entire world is this woman, like, who's just like devoted to her and just will do anything for her and just worship the ground she walks on. And there's also a discussion going on about, because we're trying to do better portrayals of bodies and body types and women in fiction, in romance particularly, with more fat heroines, which is amazing. I'm going to do more fat heroines in the future. I'm very excited to do this, like, so excited. But we're not doing that with the heroes. We're not... well, not a lot of people are making very diverse heroes. And there was a discussion about whether we should be doing that. And somebody said, and I agree with them, that if I want reality, I have reality. If I want an escape, I have romance books. I don't particularly want a realistic hero in my romance books. I want 5 ridiculously hot, sexy rock stars who are going to just bang the shit out of the heroine. That's all I want. I just want to read that, have my fun reading it or writing it, and then be on my merry way. I can go back to reality when I'm done with the book, you know?
But haven't you seen that when you're crossing, I guess, the whole romantic genre, the lines are starting to blur for most people. You know, once you're into romance, there are very clear tropes, there are very clear lines. What is romance? What is sweet? What is steamy? What is romantic erotica? What is erotica? Once you're diving into that, the tropes and the rules are very clear. But if you're just picking up a book off the shelf and going, hey, this is a cool storyline, I want to bang 5 rock stars, who doesn't? You know, there's okay, I have my list of who I would, but since 2 of them are dead, not thinking it's going to happen in this lifetime.
Oh, yeah, could be hard. Not in a good way.
But, yeah, but you've got everything now from menage a trois, like you've got. There's hot wife, where the husband actually enjoys sharing his wife, whether he's in the room, whether he's watching, that sort of thing. You've got cuckold, where she is in absolute control. You've got a lot of BDSM. I guess it's coming out of the 50 Shades, but experimenting where the female is the top rather than the male, and she may have, you know, more than one suitor. Then you've got the reverse harem as well. So there's almost like that whole trajectory. Find whatever turns you on in that moment. And as long as the characters speak to you, you know, fill your boots.
You know, it's funny you say that. I because in my series books 1 and 2, it happened in book 1. Her husband was her dom, and then the third guy to join the harem, so that he was her first member, obviously. Then the second guy joined. The third guy was a dom as well, and so she had two. I had this dynamic where she had 2 doms, and I was really kind of hesitant or worried in book 3 that came out last week, because she switches and doms one of the other harem members, obviously not one of those 2. And I was worried that people would be like, the people who were reading it were really drawn to her being a sub, right? But I was like, there was a scene in book 2 where spoilers. There was a scene in book 2 where she gave him all the control, and it was just meant to be him returning the favor, but then it turned into a whole, she's now a switch, and she doms him and she gets dommed, and everybody has lots of fun, and the 4th person just enjoys the benefits of that. So that's a fun time, you know.
With your book, Layla, was there a reason why you stopped at a menage a trois? Is it going to be another book in the series where someone else joins? How are you building that out?
So the interesting thing with the menage, it starts from a situation of sexual slavery. So Brendan, who is like one of the main male characters in the first 2 books, this might be a bit of a spoiler for people who haven't read these first 2 books, but yeah, so maybe mute, block your ears, whatever at this point. But there's a huge misunderstanding that happens between him and Alana in book 2. So they sort of split up and go their separate ways. And because they had developed this like literal soul link through magic, that separation is physically painful for him. So he goes and seeks out this dark fae character who he knows specializes in being able to break this link. So he's like so desperate that he's like, I'll do anything, make the pain go away. And she's like, okay, submit to me for a year. And he's like, fine, whatever. So basically, without really thinking about it properly, he's basically signed on to a sexual slavery contract with her. And so that's where Winter's Thrall sort of starts. It's like he wakes up the next morning with an oh shit moment because he's just realized what he's done and he can't escape. So it's like the relationship builds there because he'd like had like a one night stand gangbang with her in the past, and so she's basically decided she wants him, and this is her way to get her claws on him. But also alongside that,
hang on. Sorry, I just want to clarify because I'm confused. So the menage is one guy and two women?
No, it's two men and one woman. So
the partner that he was bonded with was a guy.
No, he was bonded with Alana, a girl. They split up. All right. So this menage starts with first just him and Bridie, but then another guy comes in on the scene. Okay. Someone he was friends with in the past. And I don't want to spoil too much of the book, so I'll leave it there. But basically, there is conflict because this guy has a relationship with Bridie as well, and he's jealous of Brendan. And then she's like, you guys have just got to fuck it out of your
Bang
systems.
It out.
Yeah. So that's where things start to get interesting. So, yeah. And beyond that, like for the future books, there is going to be a second chances situation for him and Alana to repair.
That's what I was trying to figure out because I was like, hang on, but what happened to the person he was bonded with?
So so you will get glimpses of Alana in this book, but not with Brendan. She's got her own thing going on, but I don't want to spoil too much either, but there's like two like parallel plots that are going alongside each other for a lot of this book, and then they collide in this like epic collision course at the end. So
you do not shy away from topics that could be controversial, like where Kenna was saying about expected tropes, like in a romance or whatever. Like one of them is like, you don't have them like separate and then bang a ton of other people and then get back to like, you're like, I've got this. I can do this. It's fine.
But isn't that the difference with reverse harem, that the rules are still emerging? Because as you said, it's a new romance genre. There's at first it was one woman with three guys. Then it was, well, you know what? Add an extra guy. It's not going to break the world. It might break her, but she just give me a moment. I'll be fine. But then you had the swords crossing, and I think early on when we started reading reverse harem, having those swords crossing, it would be don't know about that, but it's still evolving. The rules are still being written, and there's an audience for almost everyone.
Oh, there's a cheating romance readers group on Facebook. There's an audience for every book. They like to hate read. Oh my God, they do. They love to hate read cheating romances. It's amazing.
I need to join that with my Choose Your Own because invariably someone's cheating.
So there are people who, I mean, I can't guarantee they will like it because, like I said, a lot of them will hate read. They pick it up. They know they're going to be angry. They know they're not going to like that book. But whatever someone's needs are out of reading a book is their own. And if somebody needs to see that, and then that's all, like, but yeah, I've always maintained that there are 7 billion people in the world. So there is an audience for every single book. You just got to find your readers. And if somebody picks up your book and doesn't like it, that's not your reader. Just find your readers, because there will be somebody out there who loves it. Like I can have two reviews come in of Wicked Opportunity. One will be 1 star saying there's too much sex. Yes, I get that a lot. 2 will be there's too much sex and not enough plot. And then the very next review that comes in will be 5 stars. There's so much sex. I loved it. And also there was a lot of plot. And I'm like, I don't think you read the same book. But everybody comes out a book with their own life experiences and are going to take from that book what they also bring to it. So,
That is
yeah,
so true.
everybody's different. Yeah, everybody's perspective and life experiences are different, and that affects the lens through which they see. John Cena, the lens through which they see the world and what they consume from that.
So when you read books, do you like reading books that push the boundaries as well? Because obviously you like writing them where you're changing the rules. Is that the sort of book you read as well?
Absolutely. Lately I've been digging the really dark stuff. Like I like quite dark romance. I will have to
Starts with an essay. Starts with an essay. I will say, okay, I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna here pimp someone else's book for you because I came across this. Somebody said they wanted a really dark reverse harem, and somebody came in and was like, Lords of Pain, I got you. And then somebody else said, there are those of us who think Lords of Pain is light grey. And I was like, I don't read dark romance, but now I need to know if it's light grey or if it's dark. And also they talked about the funhouse scene. The only time I was uncomfortable reading this was actually in the prologue because she was 16, I think. And I was like, am I about to read a book about children? Because I don't do reading books about children. And no, it then jumps forward to them being at college. So it was fine. I felt this was light grey for my personal preference. But book 2 was definitely darker, and the funhouse scene did make me squirm. So there you go. Lords of Pain, Lords of Wrath, Lords of Mercy. I can't pimp that enough because, yeah, if you like dark, you'll like it, I think.
Well, if we're going for dark, The Sainthood by Siobhan Davis. Oh my God.
I love Siobhan. Yeah, Siobhan Davis.
Okay, it's not reverse harem, but she's got a book coming out in June, and I haven't read the first 2. I read both of those on Thursday. I absolutely shattered myself. It was so good. I just bawled the entire second book, and I just need to be emotionally prepared to read the third one when it comes out, because yes, I will. But Sainthood, I just loved that. But you'll know the scene. That's my boundary. I found my boundary in that book. Like I think it was book 3 or 4 in the box set. Found my boundary, but it was so well done. Moved past.
So which
do you know the scene? When the mother.
When the mother.
Yeah. If that isn't enough to give it away, then that scene didn't actually push your trigger. But that was
I haven't read it.
The boundary. That's my boundary, that scene, but it was appropriate for the book, and it was absolutely well done. And I think I've read all of the books on ebook, and I've listened to the audio twice. So apparently I like Siobhan Davis.
Yeah. See, personally, I don't actually really have triggers. Like, I think that's part of why I also like writing some pretty dark and taboo themes as well, because it's something that I can deal with when writing and easily read. You know, I get emotional over stuff that's happening to characters, but not necessarily triggering stuff. You know, like your normal flow of a romance plot might bring tears to my eyes, and then the next minute I might be laughing at some really funny line that the author's written. So I love the emotional roller coaster that is reading romance. But yeah, reverse harem. I think I am definitely leaning more towards reading. I used to love the passion and drama of the love triangle trope, but my reading tastes are progressing more towards what I choose these days because I love everyone getting that happily ever after. And that's something I think a lot of other readers enjoy about the trope as well. So that's something that I've come across in the literature I've been reading on the growing trend, as well as female empowerment. So you're sort of talking about the idea of the woman being the center of the universe, and I think that feeds into that concept of female empowerment. That's a really big part of the appeal of this subgenre for sure.
Yeah, like for me, because I personally am polyamorous, I like compersion is real. Like I mention it all the time in my books because I'm like, the feeling of compersion is just so beautiful, and that's why I love reverse harems, where I don't have my guys be jealous. Like I like it where they're, and this is like we were saying, there's a book for everybody. Like I like it where they're all loving each other and loving her, but then they will be like jealous. They can be jealous of anybody outside the harem. That's fine. But I like it where they're all just like lovely and love her, and everybody, like I call mine the sweetest smut you'll ever read because everyone just loves her and gives her so many orgasms. And she just gets loved on, and they love each other and they give each other orgasms too. That's it. I'm like, you guys, anybody can screw anyone within our, polyamorous cell. So it's like that's why I love it, because I just love the beauty of it, of everybody getting that, like you say, happy. Everybody's happy. Everybody gets a happily ever after. But to do that, you do have to have outside conflict.
Yeah, because conflict is still very important in any story.
Otherwise, are you telling a story or are you just writing smut scenes, Sean? I'm asking you. I would say like the plot is the reason that they're having sex in different places for me. Like if the plot is not the point of the book, the plot is what gets them from one room to the next.
Yes. We will come back to that issue of potness in a bit, but I wanted to first of all ask, what's the maximum number of men you have written into a reverse harem relationship to date?
Relationship, it's the band, and it goes from just Sydney with Xavier, Jax, and Devon really quickly. So three of them, beautiful. They have a lot of engagement with the three guys. But then there's that fourth member of the band where that's the conflict. He's stuck in this place. They've got a good friendship. There's an attraction there, but there's just, he doesn't want to share a woman, and it's that conflict in the way both Trent and Chase end up coming into the harem. So she has 5 of them, but she has different relationships with each of them, and each of the men have their own journey into accepting that this is norm, that this is what they want. And it's a very informed kind of decision. Do they want to go and pick up someone else? Do they want to go and pick up a random? Or do they want to be part of this? And so for me, it's that the conflict is this our family or isn't it? And in the Rockstar anthology that we did, there was she goes missing. And they've been on tour. The reverse harem is a secret because fans wouldn't understand. So when she goes missing, and they think that it's because suspense theme, and they think it's her ex-fiance, a mobster again, who's tracked her down and taken her, and they've got to put their own jealousies and shit aside to actually find her in 20,000
awesome.
words.
I know. Yep. I think I did it was like 15,250. I was like bare minimum for mine. I couldn't, and you're like, I need more words.
Yeah, just chuck me your extra words. I'll take them. So I think it's 5. 5 was in the relationship. I know that I've had 4 men in the bed at one time. I can't remember. I think there's one of them. He's in the relationship, but he prefers his one-on-one time.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, in the relationship, I've got 4. I'm planning a harem with 5 after I swore I would never do more than 4, because I get this a lot. I get like, Dante's not getting enough one-on-one time with Lexi. And then somebody else will say, Ash isn't getting enough one-on-one time with Lexi. And someone else goes, Nate's not getting enough one-on-one time with Lexi. And they've all read the same book. And I'm like, I try and balance them as evenly as I can. There's group scenes. And I mean, we have to assume that not all nights are shown. She's sometimes spending time with the other people, I promise. But I'm going to do 5. But I laughed, Kenna, because you said in the bed. So I started a Patreon, and like I made my top tier $50 a month. And I said, if you subscribe, my picture for it is, who the fuck signed up for this? The very first person to subscribe to my Patreon chose that tier, and I cried when I found out. But for that tier, I promised, I limited it to 5 people, and I said, each month I will write 1 2,000-word fiction of whatever you choose. Any of my characters doing anything that you want, I'll write that for you. The first thing that they chose was Heather and Harrison from my original series with everybody from the harem. So I'm about to do 6 people in a bed in a scene. But at the top of all of those, I've written, this cannot be considered canon. But I've told her that particular one, I'm writing it in such a way that in her head she can actually consider that one canon. I'm setting it at a point in Wicked Freedom where she could theoretically consider it canon. But I was like, but I will put the disclaimer on there. But yeah, when she told me what she wanted, I was like, oh my God, I want to write that so bad. That's what I want. Because I couldn't, I really wanted to do it. I really wanted to do it in Wicked Screwed. I really, really wanted Heather and Lexi to hook up. And now I'm like, somebody just paid me money to write this thing that I really, really, really want to write. So yeah, I'm about to do 6 people in a scene. And I low-key want to add 2 more. Well, 6 people in a scene. 5 of them are 7 people in a scene. She's got 4 guys. 7 people in the scene. 5 of them are doms. 3 of them are subs, and that math checks out because she's a switch. So she will have 3 people domming her. She'll be domming someone. This is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, that's going to be my maximum number in a particular one-on-one, one scene with everybody. But yes, 4 is my maximum. I'm planning 5, even though I can already see that it's going to be the death of me trying to balance everyone fairly in the harem.
What about you?
So currently I'd say that the menage that I've written in Thrall would probably be the maximum to date. I have been running an interesting engagement sort of series of posts in my readers group on Facebook where I'm getting them to vote in polls and tell me what they want me to write. So next year I'm going to write an exclusive novella just for my Facebook group. All right.
That's awesome.
So it started with, okay, what genre? All right. So they chose contemporary romance. It's going to be romantic suspense, It's going to involve a fake engagement,
Oh,
and it's going to be
I'm
reverse
excited.
harem, and they've chosen 3 men. So that's going
Hey,
to be
3 men is the
my
harem.
yeah. So my first proper reverse harem writing experience will be this novella that I write next year. So yeah, and they're currently in the process of telling me what they so they've just voted on the name for the main female character, and so they're going to be giving me the details for so her name's going to be Amber.
Oh, I like it.
Oh no.
Oh, why don't we
So,
like
Team
Amber?
Johnny.
I didn't have any say in this.
Oh
but-
shit!
What?
I didn't even think about that.
Sorry, Team Johnny, baby.
Yep, ditto. Oh
What am I missing
no.
here?
Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
I think Amber has just killed that name for all time.
But it is just a novella for your Facebook group. They chose the name. You can't really change it. But if you do ever decide to publish it, it's just a Control H and, you know, Amber and then some other name. Totally works for that.
Or maybe Ember, EMBER instead of Amber.
Yep. Super easy to just find and replace the name Amber if you decide to publish it publicly. Or just go with it. It's not, yeah. But yeah, I guess as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, what's wrong with Amber? As soon as you said Johnny, I was like, oh, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well.
But how exciting.
Yeah.
You're writing it. Exactly.
But
it's taking writing's market to a whole new level.
Yeah,
I love
because
it.
like everything that's going into this book is they're telling me what they want. So like I have stolen this idea from someone else. I heard about it from. I can't honestly remember who it was. So
was it someone from one of these panels?
I don't think so. It was someone in another Facebook group of like authors that I've joined at some point. So yeah, just got the idea.
That is awesome.
And yeah, so like the entire year, it's just this series of polls that they're voting in, and they're like towards the end of the year, they're even going to be telling me what sort of cover art. So I'm going to give them a choice of different covers, and they get to choose the cover art and the title and everything. So yeah,
that's really exciting.
Like I love that kind of connection with readers, like the one-on-one, like when you get their input on what they want to actually read, because you can just like you can look at the market and you can write what's to market, but if you ask your readers will tell you exactly what they want to read, and then you know at least those readers are going to want to read what you're going to write.
That's right. So and you know, there might be times when their choice didn't actually make the top of the poll, but other times they might have. So it'll be sort of a real blend of opinions coming into like what happens in the end with it. So yeah, I'll still have like majority control of the plot itself ultimately, because I think it's going to be too hard to work it any other way. But they're telling me the themes and the characters and everything like that that are going into it. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
So, and I'm eventually planning to write a paranormal reverse harem that's going to be based on a role-playing campaign that I ran once upon a time.
Wow.
So, that's phenomenal. I'm here for more geeky content. I'm here for this.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be they're traveling around the world trying to solve this like unusual mystery of like why the supernatural stuff is suddenly happening throughout the world, and they've got to go and track down these books that are related to it. So it's going to be a globe-trotting campaign where like there's this reverse harem relationship happening as well.
I think you'll like
really cool.
Yeah, you will definitely find a readership for that style of content. Paranormal reverse harem is really popular, really popular genre. And that sounds really cool. Added bonus. That sounds cool.
So hopefully it's still like on trend by the time I get around to writing it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the problem.
So I've got a question for you, ladies. With so many eggplant emojis floating around our female protagonists, these books are bound to get spicy. I love reading the acrobatic feats employed by characters that enable a group of 3 or more guys to pleasure their woman. What are some of the more creative bedroom situations you have set up in your books?
For
Sian
reverse
lost
harem?
it, so you can start.
Kenna, you go. You go.
The pool table.
Okay, I'm adding the pool table.
So yeah, it's up against the pool table, spread across the pool table. You know, because obviously he's then at such an advantage because there's that physical barrier between them. So it's not just the other guys that is between her and them. They've got to fight that logistics battle as well. But creative. I loved the first time that Jax and Sydney, and for creative, it's that tension. So Jax was the absolute alpha asshole. He's as hot as, imagine all of the Hemsworth rolled into one plus a young Brad Pitt. Okay, so he's hot as shit. And they've got this so they've decided that because they're bored and they're stuck in the pub, that there's going to be this competition of who can make her come the quickest. But because Zav's had 3 days head start, they each have 12 hours to actually practice with her to be able to just get to know what she likes before the competition starts. And then it's one night after another. So that's fine. Jax drives her absolutely mad because for his day of practice, all he does is kiss her on the hour, every hour. It's just a kiss. And it's that emotion, it's that intrigue, it's the anticipation, it's the fact that it's messing with her head. You know, this is your day, me. Why aren't you? And no matter what she's doing with any of the other guys, talking or playing pool, cooking, whatever, on the hour, every hour, Jax just comes up and kisses her. And you know, when you call about creative, it's that the creative in the emotion as well as the physical. And then the first time they actually do the deed, it's in a cave down at the beach.
I read that scene out loud.
Yeah. and you know, he's a master, he's fantastic. But then when he's absolutely made her scream his name, she looks up and Zav is standing in the entry of the cave. So for me, the creativity, you know, there's the athletic part of it, but I like to dive into the emotions as well. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Yeah. And that the whole mind games that Jax plays with Sydney, I love, because I hate it when it was done to me.
Well, see, I was just going to answer with all the creative smut that I have written.
And that's valid.
So, like, you reminded me that I did have a pool table scene in the first one where, so one of the characters always beats everyone else at pool. So she's like, okay, let's see if I can distract you enough that you will lose the game. And then cue everybody. But the one in the second book, pool cues were involved. And that is one of the 2 scenes that I have actually looked up online. I got the idea and I was like, I just need to see this to make sure that what I'm envisaging is physically possible. And yes, it was, but the video I took, So I got two options to look at, because if you look up, I was getting lots of people having sex by a pool, as in next to a pool, not by a pool cue. So there was only like 2 or 3 videos, 2 that I took inspiration from. But the one I took the inspiration from most, she was on the middle of the pool table. And I was like, that is going to mess up the felt. So I was like, we can't do that. She's going to be on the edge. So the things that I think about, you see, I'm like, I don't care how horny I am, I'm not going to screw up a very expensive pool table by having her make a mess on the felt, okay? Anyway, so the pool cue thing, but, and then there's plenty of like creative smut scenes. But what you were saying about like the emotional side of it, so the 4th guy who joins the harem, he joins in book 2, and because he had a girlfriend in book 1 who becomes like the villain of the series. Spoilers, I guess. Sorry. It's like 3rd book is out now. If people haven't read Wicked Opportunity by now, then that's on them, really. That's been out for ages. But they, so he joins the harem in book 2, but when he finally joins, they don't immediately jump into being a relationship, despite the fact that she's known them just as long as all the other guys. They are like, no, actually, we're happy just playing with each other. We don't need this to be anything more right now. And she's like, yeah, like if you find another girlfriend, that'll be fine. So partway through, spoilers, he calls her and he's like, are you okay if I go on a date with someone? I started talking to someone and, I'm going to go on I just want to make sure. She's like, yeah, no hard feelings. It's fine. So he starts dating this other woman. Then she kind of starts avoiding playing with him because she's like, I need to let him move on, like whatever. And then they go to Thanksgiving dinner and she goes upstairs. She's been avoiding him for ages. And he's like, hey, can we talk? Because she goes up to go to the bathroom and he's like, can we talk? Long story short, they screw in his childhood bedroom, of course. But then she's still like, whatever. That's the day before, because Thanksgiving is Thursday. His date is the next day. He's like, we haven't sort of played since I asked you. And so they screw. But then she avoids him when he starts dating this woman. And then they move into a new house. He comes over, whatever. And he's like, I haven't played with you in a long time. And she's like, well, we'll have to use a condom. And he's like, no, we won't. And she's like, it's not safe for us to have unprotected sex if you're sleeping with someone else. And he's like, oh, I'm not. Like, we haven't had sex yet. And she's like, why not? And he's like, we're taking it slow. And so she's like, okay. So they bang. And then eventually like another 3 weeks goes past and she's just like finally gets fed up and she goes over and she's like, have you slept with her yet? And he's like, no, we're taking it slow. And she's like, you were taking it slow 3 weeks ago. What's going on? And then finally, they admit that they're fucking in love with one another. And that's the sort of, like you said, like where you get that emotion that is still into it, despite it just all being about smut. But the moments like where he goes like, oh no, we're taking it slow, were like so gratifying. Where you go, oh no, he's not sleeping with her. I know that she said he could, but I didn't really want him to do it. And I know that she didn't want him to do it. And when he's just like, I don't know. I know that I should want to do it and she wants to do it. But whenever we start to do anything more than kiss, it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, oh my God, we're so in love. just be with her. But his concern was a bit like your guys, that he was like, this seems like a lot. This thing that you 4 of you have got going on over here seems like a lot. And I'm not sure if I want to be involved. And by the end of book 3, he is involved. And then some. Which is, that's too spoilery because Wicked Screwed's too new.
What about you? How do you get creative?
Well, a broad question, I suppose. But yeah,
Hey, you asked it.
I mean, I haven't really
in
done
the
much.
book. In your book, okay?
Thank you, Sean.
Just to clarify. Didn't know where you were going to go with the answer.
Wherever she wants to. She's
I mean, as I said, like I haven't written any reverse harem technically yet. So, most of, I guess, the poly scenes that I've written are threesomes, and I was trying to think now, because I didn't really like expect to be answering my own questions if I didn't think in advance, but because normally, you know, you guys do all the talking, which is fine. But now that I'm thinking about it, whew, no, I'm gonna have to come back to that question later. I might.
Then can I
have
throw
to-
another one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so they've got a tour bus. It's an old school bus that's been converted into a tour bus, and that's it. There's a bedroom up the back, and Xavier and Devon take Sydney onto the bus, and it's Devon's turn to kind of be sharing time, and he wants to tie her up, and as they walk up the steps into the bus, and she sees the hooks in the bedroom, and the hooks have never been there before, she freezes. She just absolutely, in her head, you know, they can, the whole loss of control. She can't do that. She can't do that again.
Oh no, yeah. I just remembered her ex.
Yeah. So she absolutely freaks out, and they kind of sit her down and go, okay, talk, breathe. Here's bottled water. And then Devon actually goes, see, I'm breaking the seal. So she kind of notices that he cares enough that, you know, she's safe from being drugged. She's safe, even though she's handing over control. And that's when they start talking her through anything that you don't want to do, just say red. And at each step, she's either got to say green, amber, which means, you know, let's just back it up a little bit, and red is stop. And they actually work her through to a point where one wrist is handcuffed and she's comfortable with that. When they put the second wrist, it's amber, and they, okay, let's walk it back a bit. And it's that conversation and that building of trust. And that, for me, that scene was, this is how it's supposed to do it.
Yeah.
It's not about giving control. It's about building trust.
Oh my God, yes.
And yeah. And it's not something that any of the others have. It's something that's only shared between her, Xavier, and Devon. The others aren't involved in that because they've got a different relationship. So yeah, for creative, that was a scene that I spent a lot of time writing. I knew where I wanted it to go, but I was prepared for the characters to take as long as they needed to get there.
See, I love that. And you reminded me of in my second book, when they first bring Ash into it, or Logan does as her dom, because they've got a CNC agreement, a consensual non-consent agreement. So she can stop it at any time. And that chapter is a very intense chapter. And I reworded it a bit like you. I wrote the whole book, and then I went back, and all the way through writing the book, I was revisiting chapter 4 because it needed, like, I was like, the way I first wrote it, it came across like a bully romance. And that's not what my series is. Fine if I'm writing a bully romance, but not if it's not intended to be one. So in it, she is attracted to Ash, but she's resisting because he's just broken up with Cassie. He's about to fly home on a plane and sit next to her, and she's got this like, what if Cassie convinces him to take her back? Like, and we're out here doing stuff, and Cassie said I wanted to do this. So she's got this like Cassie called her a slut. And so now she's got this in her head, and so she's fighting it. And she really should have safe worded, but she didn't. So then they get to the airport at the beginning of the next chapter, and basically all of chapter 5 is actually, no, maybe it's chapter 3 that she screws up. Yeah, it's chapter 3 that there's the drive to the thing. Like Logan screws up because after the orgasm, he should have taken her, even though she was in the back seat, they should have pulled over or whatever. He should have gotten her in the seat next to him and given her aftercare, but he didn't. So he screwed up. She should have safe worded. He didn't give her aftercare when she needed it. So at the beginning of chapter 4, they're getting out of the car. Ash does something else, and it tips her over the edge. And she gets out of the car and she finally safe words and storms off into the airport. So basically all of chapter 4 is, what happens if we don't take care of our sub? And that's why I was like, in all of my BDSM scenes, I try and include aftercare and make sure that I made a thing the other day because there was a dom on TikTok who made a video, and I was like, if your BDSM book does not include consent, safe words, traffic light system, and aftercare, it's not displaying BDSM, it's displaying abuse. And the reason why people conflate BDSM with being abusive is because of all the portrayals in media that don't include those things. But for creative scene, obviously the safe words in place with Logan, he screwed up. Like, he knows that. He's like, do you even want this relationship, this kind of relationship with me anymore? Because it's a huge issue. So she ends up going over to his place. They leave the safe word in place while they discuss it. And he's like, if Ash was here and I told you to kiss him, would you kiss him? And she's like, yes. Like, she's honest. And he goes, do you want to kiss him? She's like, no. And he's like, okay, it's fine. We can see and see is the only thing we can't do, and Ash is off the table. And she's like, no, but I really want it. So then he's like, okay, take my car keys and go fuck Ash. I will call him and tell him that you're coming. And she knows it's a test. She's just failed the practice. So she safe words. And he's like, I still don't believe that you'll do it. If he was actually here, I don't think that you would actually do it. So he's just trying. She's like, look, I really want to kind of see this. So he ends up after dinner screwing her and making her call him Ash. But it's not it's more of a role play thing. But when I sent that to my alpha readers, they were like, what? Because he's like, literally, call me Ash and pretend I'm Ash, screws her in a different way that he normally would to try and like make it different for her from behind, so that she has to it's easier for her to pretend it's Ash. But it all makes sense within the course of the context of chapters 3, 4, and then 5, because that's him as her dom role-playing the situation to kind of see if she really does want it, because of that scene where she didn't safe word, like just trying. It's always about the limits, the boundaries, and communication, and it should be a trust thing and working together to see what you want to do and do things that everybody finds enjoyable. And when she becomes a switch, it's so sweet because she sees like that's the other side of it, where somebody has put their trust in you, and she's like so grateful to Ash. Spoilers. Yeah. She's so grateful to the person. I'm going to shut up now.
I've just noticed a comment from the audience. Hi, Maria. It's good to see you watching. I'm not sure if you've just joined us or not, but hopefully you can stick with us for a little bit. Kenna asked me a question just before about my creative scenes, and I needed a little bit of time to think about it. But I've sort of got one in mind, and I was wondering, how would you feel about me reading a bit? Would you like to hear a reading? So,
sorry, do you even know how much I love smut?
So, just a bit of background here. This was the first particularly detailed scene that I've written, because in the past I sort of tended to do a bit of gradual fade to black with bedroom scenes because it took me a while to build up the confidence for the smuttier stuff. So I did some research and to find out what are some of the things that turn a guy on, and use that in this particular scene.
Listening.
And also, just to give a little bit more context to the character Brendan. So he was more of a dom before this book. All right. So this is him switching it up a bit. So
I love a switch. Sorry, go on.
Brendan dozed on the Chase lounge as removalists bustled about, packing and moving Bridie's belongings. He'd given up on the mind-numbing tripe on TV hours ago. The viewing had become increasingly more difficult as the workman continued to walk in front of the screen. The one time he attempted a change of scenery, Levi dutifully informed Brendan of the requirement to stay indoors. Even his bathroom breaks were supervised. Sighing, Brendan sprawled out on the couch and took the opportunity to be lazy. It was still preferable to being chained to his bed. "Why don't I get tied up in this room?" Brendan asked as Levi sat in the armchair next to him. "I'm sure I could arrange it, handsome." Bridie's voice startled him as she crept up behind the sofa. "My purple bondage rope would look spectacular on your porcelain complexion." The thought of soft tethers stroking his skin while she had her way with him terrified him as much as it thrilled him. He shoved the image aside, hoping Bridie did not catch a glimpse. "Not what I meant." She perched on the armrest and leaned into him. "I know, but I think it's what you want." Her fingers brushed his face. Shit. He had to be more careful about letting his guard down around such a skilled mind reader. "But to answer your question, this is my public parlour. I don't wish to alarm the clients of my more legitimate business operations with the sight of chained-up slaves. And I know you are well supervised here." Bridie gestured toward Levi, who continued to watch Brendan. "In other words, you don't want them to know we are your hostages." Bridie grinned.
Bingo. Sorry.
Bridie grinned as her hand cupped his chin. You're not just a pretty face with a delicious body." She repositioned directly above him, and Brendan instinctively brought his arms up to prevent her from falling. Her tongue caressed his lips before it plunged into his mouth. He groaned as pleasure seized his body and held it for ransom. His grip around her sculpted hips tightened as she kissed him. "Undress me," she whispered the command in his ear, almost like a plea. "Are you sure?" Brendan glanced around the room. "There are still workmen here. Surely your room would be more suitable." "They won't mind. Some of them might even enjoy the spectacle. So let's show them how well Brendan Winters performs." Oh hell. Exhibitionism with an audience was one of the few things left on his sexual bucket list, and she was waving it before his raging hormones like a red flag. Brendan was beyond thinking or caring who ignited his desires. He unzipped her corset at a leisurely pace, wanting to savor the experience, but also needing to get his breathing under control. As Bridie's chest sprang free of its fetters, Brendan thought of two young puppies let off their leashes, bounding and playful. Another jolt of lust surged through him, and he felt the sudden urge to taste them. By the gods, he could have sworn he tasted the tart sweetness of stone fruit on his tongue, and wouldn't have been surprised to see juice dripping from where his mouth had been. Her head tilted back, and she let out a drawn-out moan. Looking back at him from beneath droopy lids, she brought her thumb and forefinger into her mouth and sucked on them a moment. Those moist digits clamped onto his left nipple as she prepared her other hand the same way. Christ, he desperately needed to be free of his tight leather pants. Naturally, Bridie acted on his wishes, knowing exactly what he desired. After pulling them from his ankles, she rose and slid her skirt down in a slow, deliberate fashion. Brendan noticed the crowd of spectators who had stopped working. A few stood there aghast, but most of them were grinning either from amusement or arousal. Acknowledging their presence only enhanced the rush of excitement he experienced. She sidled over to a locked cabinet from which she extracted some rope, making his breath hitch. As she returned, the sight of her curvaceous body moving in a gradual, provocative manner, while holding purple rope between long, slender fingers, was superheating his blood. Arriving at the edge of the lounge, she motioned for him to sit up. It's time we made some of your wildest fantasies come true. But first, I want to be sure this is what you truly want. I'll leave you with that taste.
Man, it's awkward listening to Smut being read and you're like being video. Normally I'm like hiding. Oh, Maria's got to go back. I was just opened Facebook so that I could comment back to her because I can't comment back to her in this. But oh man, we lost Kenna, I think.
Ah, okay. Sorry, Kenna, I was distracted with reading. I see you just trying to jump back in.
I tried to be like, we lost Kenna. But I was also but then I got real distracted by the smut and I was like, oh no, and Kenna's here. I'm real big on the screen. Everyone's going to see me blushing.
Sorry, Kenna.
I was enjoying listening.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh man, I was down for it when it sorry, I'm just gonna break down this scene. I just heard okay. Wow. When the people were watching, degradation cake, super hot. When they were laughing, I was like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. It's okay. When I listened back to, oh my God, proofing, I'm still in the middle of proofing my audiobook. One, I got to take a break after some chapters, if you know what I mean. And two, how the hell does my narrator read this shit out loud? Because I am sitting there listening and I was doing it on TikTok lives and I put my headphones on when the dirty stuff happens, which is every 5 seconds. But I'm sitting there going even when I'm listening to it and it's nobody's around, I'm like, oh God. I can write it fine. Hearing it out loud.
If I'm taking my phone, because I leave my Kindle at home because I lost a Kindle once when I was at a doctor's surgery. So now I just use the Kindle app on my phone to sync with my Kindle.
Me too.
Yeah. So I find it's very handy for waiting rooms and such, but I definitely blush when I'm reading the steamier scenes in books in public. And you just look up, I know they can't see the cover of the book because it's on my phone, but do they know what I'm reading?
I joke that that's why my book has this cover that's 64.58% smut. There's 67,000 words of smut in this book, but you can read that in public and it just looks
it's a romantic comedy.
It's just oh, silly me, I found a man. Not silly me, I'm scoring 3 at the same time. All the holes. But that was good. I was what I really liked about it was that I was into that scene with zero context for who these, you told me enough that I was okay, I understand this, But like, I had no idea what the characters looked like. I had no idea like anything other than what you were reading. When you said he had leather pants, I was like, oh, that was a really good detail. And I'm adding that to my mind scene that I've got going on here. So like hearing it and being able to just like being that into it.
Very well written.
Thank you.
Oh, do we have more questions to answer?
Okay, so feel free to slap me if this one is too personal. But do you get turned on when writing the steamier scenes in your books? Or if you don't want to answer that one, have you received feedback from readers telling you that they have been titillated by your books?
Okay, well, then I'll just say that I needed to take a break after some chapters. Wicked Opportunities audiobook. I joke that like writing reverse harems is really hard because when I write, I will pick up my writing to do a writing session, and I'll often read back the last little bit before I start writing, just so I'm like, I know where I am in this scene. With the reverse harem, that's always sex. So I have to read it back, then I take a little break, then I come back and start writing. It just makes for a longer entire process. But so Wicked Opportunity took off on TikTok when I posted a review. I'm just out here doing my normal everyday TikTok life, getting like 200 views per video, whatever, right? Just doing my life. And I casually post a screenshot of a review where I said, I love everything about this review, from when she said she came so hard she cried, down to where her phone clearly corrected my name to Asian because I have that problem all the time. I post that, go about my day, come back, and I'm like, my TikTok's going wild. That TikTok now has like 117,000 views. There was like a trend of readers filming themselves, like stitching that, and then filming themselves going to buy my book on Amazon. And since that point, I cannot tell you how many times a day I hear about a reader's orgasms. Like, I'm not joking when I say minimum once every 1 to 2 business days. Like, it's going to be once every couple of business days, probably more often if there's like a post about my book in one of the dirty book groups on Facebook. I'll like, multiple people will be like, hey, thanks. My husband thanks you. One of my favorite things the other day was she said, so when I was saying about when you go back and read, when I was writing my other series, it was plot, right? Like I'd go back and read. It was like rarely, it's not that the other books weren't dirty. They just weren't like this. So my favorite thing the other day was one of my readers said, when my man sees me reading one of your books, he's like, do you need the tissues or do I? And I was like, accurate assessment, because my other books, the cruise control books, will tear your heart out and stomp all over them. That's when she needs the tissues. And the Something Wicked series is when he needs the tissues. I was like, that is one of my favorite bits of feedback I've gotten. So yes, I have obviously no shame and very open sexually and personally, and have been told I'm a little too open sometimes. But totally fine with telling people that I get orgasms and I hear all about them getting their orgasms. And you know what, honestly, it makes my day. I'm like, to know that you got off, like, I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm glad that I could give you that, because I want to be sex positive. So just go on with your bad self, get your orgasm, and we'll move on with our lives. And then I'll go read somebody else's and do the same. So yeah, I'm here for it. Some of your books that y'all have talked about, Kenna, I still need to read your series because I want to read about this pool table. And I read that cave scene, and that cave scene was hot. So
I loved that cave scene. I really did.
And I managed not to laugh when I read it out loud, I think. I was proud of myself.
But my favorite part of that whole series was Xavier is away and so she's at the pub with the four guys, and that's okay. She and Xavier are having a little bit of a agreement, and they're in the kitchen. Can't remember how she ends up on the chair, but she's sitting on the chair, and I think it's when Chase actually wants to be intimate with her for the first time, and Devon ties her up to the chair. That's okay. Everything's nice. But then Chase actually says something to her that triggers with her ex, and she feels that loss of power, and she hyperventilates, and she just absolutely breaks down, and she ends up running upstairs and locking the bedroom door. And she can hear the guys fighting because it's like, what the hell did you just do to her? Blah, blah, blah. And Devon actually sits on the other side of the door and talks her through, using that green, red, amber, asking her a question and getting her to, or making a statement, and she's got to say green, or if she doesn't say green, he'll assume it's red. And it's that whole connection, and that's what I love about reverse harems, and I think that's why I love Siobhan Davis's reverse harems, because it's so amazing. And you sort of read something like that, and then you read what was it, who is it that wrote Groupie and Moxie?
Sam Stunick.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say the last. Is it Stunick?
Yeah.
Stunick?
Different type of reverse harem. They're almost not the same genre.
Yeah.
Oh, they get
So, did you want to answer the question, Kenna, or do you want to?
I thought I just pivoted.
I was like, very interesting take on it, but Kenna, you do seem to have answered the question.
or am I getting the slap across the face here?
Amber.
Just back
Right,
off.
okay,
What about your
okay.
readers? What about your readers, Kenna? Do your readers tell you about their? Do you like me get told about people's orgasms regularly?
I don't engage a lot in social media, so I just don't know how to, kind of thing. Facebook, it's really, I tried the whole reader group and that sort of thing, and I just couldn't be. I just couldn't have this is my author life, and then there's the rest of me. So I've basically, what I have on my Facebook page, that's me, that's genuine, it's who I am, it's what I'm reading, blah, blah, blah. On Twitter, I have conversations with people and I engage with people, but again, I don't actually pimp my books. I don't feel, if you like my shit, read it. If you like it, that's fantastic. And I purposely don't read reviews. Because
that's a good life choice, my friend.
If I'm in a good mood, it's gonna destroy me. And if I'm in a bad mood, it'll make me quit for good. I had, and everyone's got their own perspectives. I had one star review on a book because it was all about cheating. It's called The Unfaithful Wife. I don't know I couldn't.
I wish there was a way to tell that that's what was going to be in the book, Kenna.
I know. She cheated.
That's a hard one.
Everybody cheated. That's what got them into the position where she had to choose someone. Her husband, her lover, or the mystery man.
Remember I said that some people read cheating romances? Yeah. Sounds like somebody who reads cheating romances.
And sometimes, you read a review and you go, oh, and and then there's a couple of times that I've seen, people have tried to comment, and especially on Twitter, and they can get a little bit gross, and it's like, hey, I wrote it, you enjoyed it, beautiful, fantastic, good for you. But that doesn't actually create a relationship between you and me.
I'm so different. I'm like, cool, you came. Woo! So sometimes I'm like, okay, if it's like 6 a.m, I've just woken up and the first thing I hear about is somebody's orgasm, I'm like,
Too
thanks.
early. Too early.
I appreciate that. But no, I get that. I get that you sometimes have to, everybody can only do what they're comfortable with. Like you, even the way you worded that question, it's like, if you're comfortable, answer for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't. And everybody needs to decide what level of themselves they're comfortable putting out into the world. Because my husband's always like, you know, you need to be a bit careful the things that you do and say, because like, yeah, people you say, people can see a lot about your life. I won't be stalked and tracked down and anything crazy happen to me, because that would be not nice. So, but hearing about people's orgasms, that's fine. If it's not creepy, it's not like some it's not, to me, it's not some creepy old man sending me dirty pics or dirty messages or something. Like, it's generally women my age or even older, younger, whatever. Like, it's generally women telling me that if I can help another woman, if I can help I'm going to stop talking. It's fine. I'm fine. Basically, if readers want to tell me that I gave them orgasms, I am glad that I am putting a sex positive vibe out into the world, that we can own our sexuality and be like, yeah, okay, that gave me an orgasm. That was really great. Good on you. That's what I said when I was doing teasers for Wicked Screwed. I put the captions, because you have to put the book title in the comments. Be like, the book is Wicked Screwed, coming on May 19th, much like us when we read it.
Nice. Okay. So, getting back to the issue of plot. So, of course, these books contain more than steamy sex scenes, right? Because they're not America.
Yep.
What are some of the plot hooks and key themes you have conveyed in your reverse harem stories?
I would say, actually, I do have something. I just want to say, somebody's is echoing back, or is that me? I left my Facebook open, probably. I thought that somebody might have Facebook open because I thought I could hear it back. But I actually, the kind of big theme in mine is slut shaming, to be honest. Again, trying to be sex positive. But because in the first book, you know, she's slut shamed privately by a character because nobody knows about the harem. And I'm sure that Kenna would have addressed this, or at least to some extent. But in the second book, that becomes more extreme, as the villain of the piece openly is constantly saying. So in the first book, it ends with her calling Lexi a slut for sleeping with 3 men, like, just openly. She's just been bitchy to her prior to that. And then in the second book, she's, spoilers, blackmailing them and openly just like, you know, a slut like you, blah, blah, blah. That ends with her walking in on Lexi and Ash fucking, and that goes as well as you could imagine when she sees her ex-boyfriend is indeed screwing Lexi. And so she goes public with it. And in book 3, she is just openly being slut-shamed by the world. And so that's a big theme in mine. And I had that theme in one of my other books with, it's not cheating, it was sexual assault, because both he and the woman he slept with were drugged against their will, but that's a whole other story. But in that, the way that the media treated the other woman and his fiance was very different to the pass that he got in the media. Despite the fact that he was pictured in bed with another woman, he still got the pass. And then it was like, oh, well, he must have cheated because she was sleeping with his best friend. And it's like, oh, look at the slut that broke up the world's favorite couple. Like, it's like the difference, that the way that women are treated around sex topics versus the way that the men are treated. So that's a big theme in the books. And also I think, my other big theme would just be love and smut, and it is erotica. It immediately, all of them gets dumped in the... Actually, Wicked Scrooge's the first one to go in the erotica dungeon. It's a weird, proud moment, I guess. You can't find it if you search for the title. You can only get to it through the series page. I don't think it's even showing up on my author page. So it's in the erotica dungeon. All of them, as soon as I uploaded the manuscript for Wicked Opportunity, got turfed into the erotica categories on Amazon. They were like, we see a lot of cock and pussy in this manuscript. You go in erotica. But that's, so I think that's my big theme for the whole series, is really addressing slut shaming and a woman owning her sexuality, and not, because even if you think about the scene that I was talking about with the consensual non-consent, she is fighting her own desires because of having been shamed. Like, it's coming to get to a point where, and when it gets revealed, they call their families and they tell their families before the story goes public, right? They find out the story is going to come out, and she's telling her dad and her stepmom, and her stepmom's being supportive, and her dad and her stepmom are having this like whispered conversation where she hears the word whore come from her dad's mouth. And so she's like being slut shamed by one of the most important people in her life. And that, you know, makes her go like, did we make a mistake? But then she's like, no, you know what? I'm happy and we're happy and this is so dumb. So she's like dealing with her own mental issues to do with the perception of a woman owning her sexuality. And that's all I'll say on that. What about you, Kenna? Do you have yours are in the erotica dungeon, or are you safe and sound?
Last time I checked, they're not, which is fine because there is more story. It really is. I think the key theme that I have across all of my books is I like strong, sexy, sassy females. They all come with a past. They all come damaged in a way, but they're strong enough to survive. So I've got a military hero series where book one, off the page, she's a survivor of sexual assault, and it's how it changed her and how she reclaims her sense of self. The second one, actually, I created the perfect alpha hero, blew him up and put him in a wheelchair. That was fun.
Why not?
Dear darling husband, the reason why my Google search is sex in a wheelchair is because I wanted to know.
No, honestly.
The third one in that, the wife, it's a married couple, and she has undiagnosed PTSD, and that was really interesting. Just researching veterans and their families, and seeing how that. So a common theme for most of my books is she's strong. She could be independent. She chooses to have a man in her life. And for my reverse harem, Sydney flew her gilded cage. She was raised with money. She was engaged to the person that her father picked for her when she was 15. She never chose him. She never chose that life. And to escape him when she was, I think, 19 or 20, she basically had to run away from that life. And she does a lot of online poker, and that under a pseudonym, and that actually funds her ability to have false identity, that sort of thing. The key theme for that whole book is how does she become the girlfriend of this band that makes it big and then stay safe.
Oh,
so the key themes for Sydney is, and in the book, Seducing the Band, Xavier keeps saying, tell me what you want. And he keeps copying crap off the other band members because if you were such a great lover, you wouldn't need to ask, kind of thing. Come and me, baby, because you don't have to tell me what you want. I'll know, kind of thing. And then I'd written, I think, the 3 books, and I went, I really need to do a prequel. So I went back and wrote Dirty Blonde, and that's when, oh my God, that's why Tell Me What You Want. Because when he asked her what do you like, she didn't know, because she'd never had a kiss that she wanted before. She didn't know what she wanted. So the whole Tell Me What You Want becomes this theme of sexual identity as she becomes who she wants to be. I needed to take a break after writing these books. There's still more story to tell. There's absolutely still more story to tell, but it did get a little bit dark. Xavier got kidnapped. Her brother gets involved in the whole thing, and you can imagine Middle Eastern. In my mind, there may be Turkish, Italian, Lebanese, that kind of background, European background. Her brother is not impressed that she's with the band.
The band.
He's unimpressed. But I then had to go off and write him a story, because he wanted his story, and he was a nightclub owner and got caught up with the mafia and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he had his own problems I needed to sort out for him. I'll come back to the Rockstar reverse harem eventually. The key theme is strong women. Love the strong women, and the men have to deserve them. Absolutely. And
Yes.
no matter what they've had in their past, they've survived it, and they are stronger for it. And they've been able to have that strength from themselves. And the man is just the icing on the cake.
Nice.
What about you?
Complexity of love is a huge theme to a lot of my books, especially in the Winter's Magic series. Yeah, and
I was going to say, I still haven't had a chance to read that other one we talked about last time. I bought it, and I have it, and I'm going to read it. I just have been slammed to writing, but talking about complex and different loves,
yes,
I think of you as the gold standard, other than my friend Vera, who writes monster porn, reverse harems. And she wrote a shape-shifting potato. Sorry, go on.
Okay, that is different.
But yes, I think of you, and I think of Vera. You are the people that I think of when I think of complex, different, unconventional love stories.
Yeah. And I think it's not always necessarily unconventional either. Like, I've written a fairly, I mean, yes, there was an age gap, but Crystal's Crucible, it's office romance with a bit of an age gap. She falls in love with her boss, sort of thing. It's mostly a fairly straight dynamic, but it's still a complex relationship. Because,
the power dynamic of boss employee kind of thing.
And there is a bit of the forbidden element there still, because they're not it's a bit of a conflict of interest for them to have this relationship in the workplace. But when you think about relationships in real life, they're quite often complex.
That's why I love the choose your own, because you take a female at a crossroads. The politician's wife. I wonder when I wrote that one, but she is at the gym with all of these other corporate women, because she's a highfalutin consultant, kind of think tier 1 consultancy firms. She's at the gym 5 a.m. with all of these other women who are trying to stop the aging process, kind of thing. And on the breakfast news, it's her husband being caught out with his mistress. And that's the opening scene.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's the opening scene, and then it's like, okay, public humiliation. You know, we all of these, you know, Donald Trump, Bob Hawke, like rock stars, footballers, they all screw around, and it's almost like a game. What about the woman? She's at a crossroads. So in The Politician's Wife, well, what do I want to do for her? I want her to actually reclaim that sense of self, that sense of dignity, that sexuality, sensuality. You know, she had become a mother and a businesswoman, and she'd forgotten kind of to be a wife. Not that he really gave her much choice. He was a professional politician. They'd moved in different directions. She leaves, accidentally has an affair with his chief of staff. Oops. So that's, and she finally thinks that this is it. This is the rest of her life. And then her husband contacts her and wants a second chance. So does she not? And that's the reader. Would you forgive your husband if he cheated? Or if you've got this young, hot chief of staff, would you go in that direction? And what if an old friend who's always been there for you then comes along and goes, wait a second, what about me? Yeah, I love writing the choose your own because they are true to life.
I've always loved your choose your owns for that.
Thank you. They're true to life. Most of us have been in that situation where
points.
Crossroads. And which one do you forgive or do you not? The Unfaithful Wife, I absolutely adored because it picks up at the end of The Intern, which I will rewrite, so don't buy it, The Intern. But it picks up where she's just realised that her husband is having an affair with her protege. Her husband is
her protege.
Her protege at work, who just admitted to having an affair with a married man, not knowing that it's her husband because they've got different names at work and they keep their professional lives separate.
Okay, so the other woman didn't know.
No. And so they're on the Sydney Harbour on this cruise. Nina gets off the cruise and gets into a cab and is gone before her husband can catch up to her and go, I'm sorry. I know it's happened before, but it really won't happen again. And,
sure.
And so the beginning of the book is her being absolutely publicly humiliated, or at least in her mind, you can't get lower than that. She actually goes then to the apartment that she owns with her lover.
Oh, snap.
The only way she's been able to cope with her husband's affairs is by having an affair with his best friend.
Video call for David. It's from Elizabeth.
Oh.
Someone's phone's ringing there.
Yep, and that's Google. Yeah.
So a bit of cheating revenge sort of stuff. I think that's a really interesting sort of theme and plot hook to work with. Like, that's one of the things I really loved about Jennifer Hartman's book. I think she co-wrote that. The Thorns Remain. I don't know if you've seen or read that one, but yeah, it's a really, really interesting story about this man who tries to get revenge on the man who cheated with his wife, and so he goes and seeks out that man's wife, and you know the relationship that develops from there. And
damn,
yeah, I love that story. I mean, I love pretty much all of Hartman's books, but yeah, you just reminded me of that talking about your book, Kenna.
I just think that most of us have been cheated on. Some of us have actually cheated, and there's all of those decision points. Does infidelity have to ruin a relationship? And if it does, then let's actually give that woman the best sex
Orgasm.
future of her life.
Yes.
And yeah, The Unfaithful Wife, I really loved Nina. I loved her character. I loved that relationship with Derek. I loved how much he loved her. And I loved the exploring, why would he cheat? And why would he keep doing it, knowing that he could actually lose everything? And I loved Roland, her lover, who was Derek's best friend. The reason why Roland, it was actually to save his marriage, because when Roland and Juliet had their daughter, Juliet almost died, and it was such a traumatic birth that she has never had sex again. She cannot be intimate. The love is there, the relationship is there, but it's not a physical marriage. So rather than leave his wife, who he absolutely adores, and she was injured giving birth to their daughter, this other relationship has happened. So, and the Roland and Juliet situation, that's in a different one, The Unforgiving Wife, where I was able to explore what happens after childbirth, what happens after your body has been so traumatized. How can you actually have intimacy without that physical act? So that was a whole different thing. And
Wow,
it's like,
That's awesome.
I like exploring those, and the choose your own. It's like, why don't reverse harem just love choose your, because they're a different genre.
Yeah.
Choose your own is almost more real, whereas reverse harem, we're all unlikely to be in a reverse harem.
I keep saying to my husband, I was like, hey man, if we have a divorce, I'm getting a harem. And earlier I was like, and they'll all be like a good 6 to 7 years younger than me. They are gonna worship the ground I walk on. They are gonna be hot and rock stars. So just, be prepared that your sons are gonna have new daddies. That's okay. And then he went, sure, okay. If you say so. And I was like, just let me have this, okay?
All right, I've got another question for you. We are getting close to time, but we don't have a huge live audience with us at the moment, so we won't need too much time for audience questions. If you could spend a day with another popular reverse harem writer, whom would you choose and why?
Siobhan Davis, because of Surviving Amber Springs. Like, that was, oh my God. She took a school shooting and wrote a reverse harem about it. It's Surviving Amber Springs was the first reverse harem I read. I got the first extract of it in book funnel, as we all do. And I read it and I went, no, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. And about 6 months later, it was like, I remember it was a school shooting. It was this, it was this, it was this. And I read it, I bought it and I read it. And I've probably read it about 3 or 4 times. It's just, I can't believe she went there, but she did it so well. And then, from that, I've just read so much of hers, including Sainthood and Rival. Elite, and I just like to listen to her for a day or watch her think.
I feel like similar to you, like I know immediately who I would say, and that's Serena Ackroyd. She is just the most beautiful human. She writes amazingly, and like the times that I've talked to her, she's just so wonderful that I would love to. And she did, like you were saying, like you would like to get to talk to her. She did this live where we could all like chat to her as she was giving tips on being a reverse harem author. And she's just so willing to give all the information that she has about like how to balance things. And she was like so open and wonderful. I would love to meet her in person. and she's coming to Australia next year. And I signed up to do the signing at the thing, but you have to be on a wait list. So even if I don't get in, I am 1000% going and going to fly over to, it's either Sydney or Melbourne. And I'm going to go as a reader and meet her because she's just, that's my answer. And I'm excited that I'll get to meet her in person. I won't necessarily be spending a day chatting with her, but you know, she might give me 5 minutes of her time.
Awesome.
What about you?
Tate James. I would just love to learn how her brain works, like, and just ask her why, like how, you know, her whether it's her reverse harem stuff or not, like just wanting to get a bit of an understanding of how she comes up with these incredible plots as well. Like not just the smutty aspects of her work, but the amazing suspense that she works in, and all the action as well.
And her covers are to die for.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm such a cover whore. I freaking love covers. Are just like, and her covers. There are some people who's like, I see their covers and like always I'm like, I'm so jealous. I wish I had your covers. Your covers are just like chef's kiss. And Tate James is one of those people that every time I see them, I'm like, oh, Sian Ceinwen is another one. Gorgeous covers. Actually, I'm going to say this. Controversial opinion, but I don't love the covers for Groupie Mox. That series, I love those covers. All her recent ones are just like phenomenal, like stunning.
I love her Stolen Crush series.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that I see all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, that cover. The one that she did recently, it was for like the daughter of a serial killer, and she had the green hair. Just this is my reaction to covers sometimes. Very similar to my reaction to smut, to be honest. I'm just like, oh, a cover, so good.
Yes. Okay, so I'll probably need to confess I've actually only read a little bit of her stuff. That's probably why she wouldn't have been my first pick for author to meet, because I've read a lot of Tate James now, but so far I've only read the first two books of the daughter of a serial killer, and hanging out for the next one. Oh my god, I can't wait for Endgame Romance.
I haven't read that series yet because I'm never rapid releasing again unless I have all the books written, because this has killed me. Wicked Screwed. I'm traumatized, I swear. Like the fact that the Friday before my deadline, I was like, oh, I'm going to just retitle this book and add another one to the series, because I was like this close. It was the first time I was going to move my release date. But as the point of all that is, I've not had time to read a damn thing. And I'm never doing a rapid release again. But so I haven't had a chance to read it. But I see the covers. And I'm like, oh. But like I've heard so many good things about her books. They come up all the time in the reverse harem groups. But Serena's books I have read. So good. If you haven't read any of Serena Ackroyd, definitely my recommendation.
We'll check it out, absolutely. Okay, so just with the little bit of time we've got left, we have one person in our audience at the moment, I think. So did you have a question for our authors? If so, please start typing away. And we'll get to answer those in a moment. And whilst we wait for those questions, did you want to tell us about any quirky reading and or writing habits that you have?
Kenna?
Okay, so writer's block, and just trying to get in the right headspace. I have books on Audible, and I had to do it because I'm writing in an anthology, and I've got to write first person present tense for the anthology. I don't write that. So I actually had to binge listen to some of my favorite authors who write in that just to get into the right headspace and cadence. And then I've got a book that is due on the 2nd of June, and I still haven't finished it. And yeah,
I'm secondhand stressed for you now. Thanks.
yeah, I'm stressed. I'm stressed for me too, because I was reading it and I just couldn't get into it. And it occurred to me on Saturday morning, which was yesterday, that it's because it's written in past tense and my headspace has been in present tense because of this book. So I've legit downloaded. I went, who's a great author who writes in past tense? LJ Shen. What's the book? I always go for Vicious. When I just need to get into that writing space because he's such an alpha. Like, oh my God, yes, please. Actually, if can I have Vicious and Trent? I'll be happy. But I've downloaded The Rake and I've just got back into that. And then I reread my stuff and that's not so bad after all. I've still got a little bit more to write. So for a quirk, I have to read it in Audible in the voice and the tense that I'm writing in. Okay. Just otherwise, yeah. I mix my tenses up. Oh, I plot in present, but I write in past.
I do that too, actually. Yeah.
Really?
So sometimes it's really hard to switch because sometimes my plotting has become so detailed and it's all in present tense that when I try and switch it to past tense, when I'm writing it, it doesn't work. So, yeah.
It's fascinating too. Like, I didn't know that other people did that. Like, I'll go and do my outlining and I'll write the outline in present tense and then go back and rewrite the actual story in past tense.
See, I wrote my original series in third person past, and then I wrote the companion series in first person present. And when I was writing The Stalker, so I did the album, The Wedding, The Baby, and then I did Gabriel's album, which was then first person present, Harrison's Wedding, and then the next book was The Stalker. So I'd done 2 books in a row, first person present. Actually, no, between The Baby and, I also did Dreams after I finished The Baby, and that was first person present. So I did Dreams, Gabriel's album, Harrison's Wedding, first person present. Then I went to The Stalker, and I can't suddenly do first person present for the 4th and final book in a series. So I had to go back to third past. And I had times where I wrote 45 minutes worth of writing all in first person present. And then suddenly something would click in my brain and I'd go, oh, this is the wrong tense. And I would have to go back, change all of the, I did this to Tatiana did that. I'm going here to Tatiana was going there. Like, and it was just like this switch. So I understand that. But I used to say that I really preferred writing.
Worse. Oh. I'm going back and rewriting some of my early stuff because I wrote it in third person and I'm actually rewriting it in first person.
Me too. So recently I had a reader on TikTok. So a conversation came up about whether you should read the heroines or the heroes first. And I would say heroines first, then the heroes. And somebody said, could they be read in tandem, like chapter by chapter? And I was like, well, a couple of my readers, like hardcore readers who love the series and have read it multiple times, have done that. So I went and naturally, because I'm me, went onto Vellum and formatted them a version, this person off TikTok, and I said, I would be curious how a first-time reader would find that experience. And I will call it album remix, naturally, keeping in with the thing. And so I made this for them. And they said the only thing that was weird was the jump from third past to first present, because each chapter would jump back and forth in the tenses. And they really liked that experience. And at the same time, one of my readers who had done it before, I gave them copies of it as well. So I plan to release that just as a way of making it easier for people who do want to experience the series that way. But as a part of that, I'm going to rewrite all the heroine books in first person present just for those, so that you don't get that jarring third past, like Ariana went here, and then chapter 1, the first song, I'm walking into the side of the stage, like that's a jarring thing. So yeah, I feel you. I have 4 full freaking books, one of which is 174,000 words long, to rewrite into first person present. So that's going to be fun. But reading quirky writing habits, I actually, part of the reason why I don't have time to read is because when I'm writing a book, I generally won't read anything else because I'm concerned that I might not lift from it, but take stylistic choices from somebody else's writing, like you get it'll get in my head or something, or either I'll think their writing is so good that I can't possibly write, and then I'll get writer's block, or I will be affected, like and that may somehow influence my writing. So when I'm writing a book, I tend to not to read anything else, and also mostly because I've had dumb stupid deadlines, so I don't have time, but also because I'm worried about reading anything else when I'm in the middle of writing a book, which I have been for 2.5 years.
All right. So our audience member hasn't given us any questions. Just wondering if our audience member is actually my husband in the other room.
What time are you coming to bed?
Yeah. Oh, it must be late for you, Kenna. Sorry.
Yeah. It is.
Might be. We got a comment.
Yeah. Okay. So, given that it is Jason, we won't be doing the giveaway because we don't have anyone else in our audience. So
we had Maria. Maria was here.
She popped in for like 10 minutes during her lunch break.
Yeah.
So all right. So yeah, thanks very much for joining us. If you want to stay on the line, we'll have a very short deep brief. But I'll say goodbye to our live viewers for now. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.